40G gravity atmosphere, strange thing happens to man's body and mind. Barry Sullivan and Norma Bengell take you into the most fantastic science fiction adventure ever filmed.
Emergency! Emergency! Conditions desperate. Little chance of survival. Help us.
Mark, look!
What have you got?
The Elliot.
Good, get me a fix on this right now. Wes, Brad, controls.
Planet of the vampires. Harboring a form of life worse than death. Planet of the bloodless. Creatures who take men's bodies, but attack like vampires.
I'll tell you this, if there are any intelligent creatures on this planet, they're our enemies.
In this outer space world, the living dead try to escape into life.
Salus.
No, just his body. And I'm just one of many beings on this planet. And we're fighting to survive. It's imperative that our race continue to exist. We arranged for several of you to kill each other so that we could take over your bodies. You are our last chance.
No, never. We'll all of us give up our lives to save our own race.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to 31 Days of Monsters. I am your horrible host, Graham Nolan, and today is day 21, and we're going to be talking about Planet of the Vampires. Italian director Mario Bava made this film, and I've been asked many times since we started these shows, when are you going to do a Mario Bava film? Well, now we've done one. I want to like this movie. I really do. It's nicely shot. I mean, every dollar is up there on the screen. The colors, the effects. I mean, it's very low budget, but it doesn't feel like it. You know, they made it. They squeezed every bit of blood out of that stone, you know, to make it look better than it is. Barry Sullivan is our American actor that's in this, and he probably wishes he was back in westerns. I just get that impression that he just liked to hop on a horse and ride off this set. This movie is supposed to be one of the main inspirations for the film Alien, although Ridley Scott says that he never saw this film when he did Alien. But screenwriter Dan O'Bannon did, or he had seen parts of it, and he thought it was very evocative. So who knows? Maybe there's some of this in there. Certainly, when they find the alien ship and the alien skeletons, these giant-size skeletons, that was a really cool scene. The problem with this movie is it's sort of a slog to get it to anything good. There's some really cool stuff, don't get me wrong. And when we get to it, it's really neat. But it's a long slog to get there. One of the things that cracked me up in this thing is, you know, any type of craft, aircraft, spacecraft, you know, you're very space dependent. When I say space, I mean your environment area. Because, you know, you don't want anything, you don't want to have to take anything you don't have to, you know, because of weight issues and all of that. And their control area looks like they hold rave parties in there. They got a few things up against the wall. They got a couple of freestanding units to look into, whatever. But then there's all this space around, like they're gonna have cocktail parties in there at some point. That just cracked me up. The uniforms that they wear in this, the costuming, for these space guys, leather with piping, and that's kind of cool. I mean, the Japanese did that with in Monster Zero with the aliens, and I thought that was really cool. But what kills this one for me is the collars. There's no reason for these things other than they thought it was a cool design element, but really they've got these high collars like stepped up that go up here as high as like a Dracula collar in the back of their necks. It looks so uncomfortable. It's hard for them to see and turn in them. I just didn't understand the thought process of that. There's times where they don't have the collars on, and then the uniforms look pretty cool. Uh, but there's a big reveal at the end of this. I'm not sure if I should spill it because some people might not have seen it. So I won't, because people might be coming into this later and they might say, well, I want to watch this movie. But there is a reveal at the end, sort of a Twilight Zone-ish twist to how this ends, which I thought was kind of cool too. This gets a lot of accolades. A lot of people like this movie, but I'm just a picky son of a bitch when it comes to storytelling and characters and immersing me into their environments. And this one just doesn't do it. Another reason it takes me out of it is when we're watching that trailer there, we hear the voices, because they're dubbed, and it's the same people that dub all the the Italian westerns, the spaghetti westerns. And so, when they showed that guy when he revealed his mangled up chest and he said he was just in the body. I mean, my God, how many Clint Eastwood movies did we hear that guy's voice? I don't even know who that actor is. I mean, I heard Paul Frees in there, but I don't know who the actor is who dubbed all those spaghetti westerns. But his voice is unmistakable. So yeah, this. It's okay. Wasn't a great one, but there we have it. I've done a Mario Bava film. I am not a big fan. I've seen his other stuff, and they don't register with me. I know Kelly Jones really loves Bava's stuff, but it's definitely not for me. But now we've done it, so we can move on. Good morning, everybody. First one in the chat today is Dan Genovese, followed by Dr. Mask. Fearless Freep is here. He says, good morning to all. Let's see what Rob's quote is today. Hope you have your meteor rejectors at the ready. I think he has another quote here that I saw come in that cracked me up. Cigar Gangster is here. H is for heretic. He says his mind is still blown that Ernie was a Nazi. Right? That was a pretty good reveal, right? Black Ice is here. He says good morning. Oh, here we go. Here's Rob's quote. Captain Malarkey. All right, calm down. Stay calm. No one was making a sound, and we're listening calmly. That's funny. And that's true. Marcus Kellegrew is here. Hello. Chris Juliano. Dr. Mask. Fearless Freep says, I found it interesting that it was the oldest guy who could withstand the increased gravity. Yeah, that's another thing. Barry Sullivan, I think he was around 49 when he made this movie, 47, 49. It looks like he's 59. But he doesn't look like he should be in outer space there, with all these young guys. Brian Norton is here. They're really trying hard to sell the vampire angle. Yeah, and they're not really vampires. It's really more of a possession, body possession, mental, telepathy type of things, than it is in the truest sense of like a vampire. Originally, the title was going to be Planet of Terror. Uh, before was it American International finally decided on Planet of the Vampires. I guess they felt like they could sell that harder. All right, Christopher Palmer is here. Marcus Kelligrew fell asleep. Yeah, yeah. If this was in black and white, I definitely would have fell asleep with the pacing and stuff on this. Any relation to the Planet of the Vampires comic from Atlas? I don't think so. I don't think there's any connection. But I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I've seen that comic. In fact, 1975. Black Ice had to power through this one. Toby Hooper's Life Force also borrowed from this film. Yeah, definitely. And I think Toby Hooper's was better. I thought Life Force was better. You got that hot vampire chick running around naked the whole movie too, so that was a plus. Dr. Mass says, yeah, the skeletons were cool looking. Yeah, they really were. I mean, when you got there, then there was this air of mystery. What are these things? What were they? And you're getting a sense of size. Scar Gangster says the ratio of size of the spaceship compared to the number of astronauts was strange. Yeah, also the space, they only made one model for this spaceship. They didn't have different scales for different kinds of shots, so they had to make the best of it. And when there was the other ship, their comrade ship, it was the same model. But they made it work. It's not a great design, but what are you going to do? Fearless Freep is commenting about the alien connection. Yeah. JP Roca says he thought there was a lot of open space on that ship. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Looked like there were ballrooms, you know. He also didn't get the collar design either. There's design, there's functionality, and it's a marriage of the two. Particularly when you're talking about real world stuff. These are suits that are made for going into space. They have to be functional. They have to have uh, a reason and things to do. Whether it's warm the body, protect the body from elements, whatever. And then the design aspect is to make them look interesting or cool as well. That's the art part to that equation. But when you just stick stuff on there because you think it looks cool without thinking it through, then it's silly. Davina Duckworth is here. Good morning, Davina. Nice to see you here in the chat. Jake Blues says this one was definitely a slog. Well, our replacement one for tomorrow is going to be fun, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Marcus Kelliger says Jim Lee designed the uniforms. JP Roca agrees it was a cool ending, but I like this one. The music was great. I can't say I remember the music, so. And Black Ice says, it had its ups and downs, but I like the twist at the end. So when they bury the dead, they cover them with metal plates. They're going to waste precious space and weight on carrying those in storage? I don't know if they just picked up if those metal plates were there, or if they cannibalized them from the other ship that was down on the planet. I don't know. Gray Wolf Graphics is here. Hello, Past Master Dan has made it, and Dennis Shoemate is up this morning. Black Guy says, anyone else find it funny that a couple of crewmen almost forgot to put on helmets before going out? Jake Blue says he got an email from me that says, I have a package on the way. I'm looking forward to it. Woohoo! Thank you for backing it, Jake. Kefka Zeronomus. Nope, Zeromus. Zeromus says, hi. John Morgan Batneal says, I think I've seen that big ass astronaut before. Oh, that can't be Barry Sullivan you're talking about. He's got the flattest ass in space. Well, this would be truth in advertising. Should have been called Planet of the Psionic Vampires. That is true. The exit ramp looked really phallic, especially when raising and lowering. It also looked like it couldn't support more than 200 pounds either. There was one point where one guy was coming off instead of down the center of it, off to the side, and you could see it go like that. There's a sense of scale, and what was I just watching? I was watching a Hammer film. Yeah, it was Hammer's The Mummy, like 1959, when they had started doing the three Universal series. They started with Dracula, and then Frankenstein, and then they did a Mummy movie. And one of my beefs with the Hammer films is that their sets are very cheap looking to me. Even though they have color, uh, maybe that doesn't help, because stuff looks like it's made out of cardboard or plywood or stuff like that. And where they go into the mummy's tomb and they open up this door that hasn't been opened ever, not since the princess has been laid to rest. So, we're talking thousands of years. And so the guy breaks the seal and he opens it up, and the width of the door is like this much. It's like a plywood door that he opens up like this, and there's no uh, expelling of old air or gas or suction coming out or dirt or anything like that. He opens it and he pretends like it's heavy. And I mean, the damn thing should be like 3 feet thick, uh, maybe on some type of pulley system. Um, and then in contrast, when we watched The Mummy's Hand, you could see the sets definitely had a much greater scale to them. Stones looked heavy. The weight of things, even the scroll, the papyrus, looked like it was made from skin or material and not like Xerox paper, like like in the Hammer film. And so it's a long way going around to say that this movie had sort of that feel too. Very lightweight. Life Force is an all-time favorite. Chokeout did a lecture on Jack's show about the boobs, etc. Nicodemus Serpico, random question: were you in Thessaloniki this year for their Comic Con? I missed that one myself. I don't even know where Thessaloniki is. So the answer is no. Yeah, here's another thing. The captain kept saying, "Wait here," for no reason while we look for this. Why don't they all go together? Now, Rob Brown loves this movie. It's one of his favorites. Hey, different strokes for different folks. Nicodemus Serpico says, "You look like you could wrangle a longhorn with your bare hands. Have you ever sneaked your own likeness in one of your comics?" Oh yeah, I've put myself in comics in the background. Um, and I do when I need photo reference, for a pose or something. A lot of times I'll set the timer up on my camera, and I'll, particularly like bodies on the ground type of look. Um, those are hard to draw from the perspective and stuff. So I'll just put the camera on timer and get into the pose and take it. So I mean, I'm in more comics than you would believe. Totally unfound footage says Morningstar. I remember fondly one of the few good Atlas Seaboard comic series, Planet of the Vampires, which first hooked me on Pat Broderick's work. Ran 2 issues, if I recall. Yeah, the Atlas stuff didn't run too long. I think they're undercapitalized and they had some distribution issues. But they had some incredible talent working for them. I mean, Chaikin and Wood and uh, I think Ditko did some stuff. Um, Simonson, some really really great talent. Rob Fellows says, "I think the Atlas comic was a bit like Planet of the Apes, where astronauts return to Earth to find it taken over by the aliens from this movie rather than apes." All y'all slings and arrows aside, I love this film unabashedly because it looks so pulpy and comic booky. Well, it does look like that. In fact, the colors are very reminiscent of like a Batman episode, which I love. I love theatrical colors, and I try to push for some of that stuff, even in my comics. Theatrical lighting, uh, mood lighting, and um, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Projecting color as emotion too. That kind of stuff. Um, I love that. One of my biggest beefs about modern comics is because of the photoshopping and the modeling you can do. Everything is modeled. So you've got your three different planes, foreground, middle ground, background, and everything is the same intensity. So everything flattens. You don't have that sense of depth or separation of forms when you do a more theatrical style of coloring. Education says later hammers are all filmed in giant classy old estates and mansions. The Frankenstein hammers are all top notch, unlike the mummies and Draculas, which are hit and miss. Yeah, there's some really good Dracula ones, and then there's some really shitty ones. And I wouldn't say all the Frankenstein ones are good. Ronan's review on break. This is a pleasant surprise. Love your work, Graham. Well, thank you, Ronan's review. Ditko inked by Wood. That's right. In fact, I think there's one. Is it Tiger? One of those Atlas comics where Ditko was inked by Wrightson. Past Master, we're talking about the Atlas comics from the 1970s, not the pre-Marvel Atlas. Yeah, at this point, Kirby didn't do any work for the Larry Lieber Atlas line, but he did work for the post-timely pre-Marvel Atlas line. Danky Frankie is here. Yeah, this is a dub film. Barry Sullivan, dubs his own voice, which I always thought was kind of weird. That you have to redub your own stuff. It just some way, somehow you can tell that it's dubbed, even if you're doing your own voice. The timing is off by a fraction of a millisecond. It's weird. My biggest beef about modern comics is that they're modern and very gay. Well, there is that. I was just referencing or referring to visually. Oh, completely agree, Marcus. They are printed or colored too dark. And part of that is because of all the modeling and the flattening of the planes. When you have contrasts of light and dark in a balance, then you're good to go, because then what the viewer needs to see and what the artist wants the viewer to see becomes apparent. Mi amigo, Anthony Gonzalez Clark is here. Good morning, sir. Rob Brown says, Graham, exactly how long have you been drawing comics? Are you ready for this? It's pretty unbelievable. 40 years. I got I got a piece of artwork that's stamped on the back from DC Comics. It was my second art sale, because I don't have the originals from the first art sale, but it was the same year, and it's stamped 1983. So this year is my 40th year doing comics. How about that? Barry Sullivan was a seasoned commander. Not seasoned well, but seasoned. I like that. Good point, Black Ice. Good point. The movie could have ended better for them if they had a stogie smoking badass on the crew. Yeah. From Brooklyn. Like every war film. Davina Duckworth wants to know if there's any Dean Koontz fans out there. She's reading one of his 80s novels, Watchers, right now. Let's see. Got some conversations for Dean Koontz's book that Davina's reading. What's the first comic book that I penciled? It was my first book that I ever did was New Talent Showcase. I think it was number 13, 14, or 16, something like that. That I penciled and inked and wrote, actually. It's a little 2-page story called The Fan. Wow, 40 years. Congrats, buddy. You can't get rid of me that quickly. I'm still hanging on. Still have a fire in the belly. Revan Saber says, I've been reading comics 7 years. Then Graham has been doing them. Holy moly. Does that mean you've been reading them for 47 years? Or 7 years less? So it'd be 33 years. Thank you. Frankie says, my buddy worked valet at one of Dean Koontz's house parties. I said he was weird AF. But maybe that's what it takes to be a horror writer. I think there's a certain amount of that. I mean, Stephen King is just a nut job. Even before he came out as a nut job, he seemed like a nut job. Yeah, that's going on back a few years. Hawkworld Comics, early 90s. Was it 1990 that first one came out? Something like that? What up, Graham? Any tips for writing short story horror comics? Well, I think the key to writing any kind of short story is get to the point. You know, um, maybe start your horror story right in the middle of it to get to it, because you don't have a lot of real estate to play with. I think that's the best way um, to approach that. You know, cut out the fat, um, introduce your characters quickly and the situation, the horror situation, whatever that may be, and then start rolling. Have you ever seen the Captain Kronos comic book? I think in some ways it was better than a movie. Also, here's hoping for 40 more years. All right, thank you. I have not seen the Kronos comic book. I've seen the movie, Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter, I think it was called. That was supposed to be a series of films. That was a lot of fun. Jake Blue says, we can see that fire in the Nolanverse. Yeah. Okay, Revan Saver says 47 years reading. Okay. If you ever read Pet Cemetery, I picture Stephen King as that kid. Well, not all of us are weird. Some of us are very grounded. Oh, was it number 14? All right. I'll trust you. It was somewhere in there. M is here, says good morning. Good morning, M. Normie Nerd says, as long as I'm making comics, he will buy them. Thank you, Normie Nerd. Okay. I think we've gone through all the comments here, gang. Oh, well, thank you. Nicodemus Serpico says, G. Nolan is super grounded. Why I'm a fan. Keep on rolling on. Thank you, brother. Much appreciated. So, take notes. Tomorrow's show, and I can't believe I haven't done this movie yet. I thought I've done all my favorite classic films, but I went through my YouTube lists and broadcasts from the past 3 years, and I couldn't find this one. So we are going to do The Monster That Challenged the World tomorrow. This is a fun one. Classic 1950s sci-fi, but this is a good one. This is really a fun and good. It's got a good monster. Good premise. It's got Tim Holt in it, uh, who was in and out of A and B films throughout his whole career. He was in stuff like the Treasure of Sierra Madre, with Humphrey Bogart, A-list film for sure. And then he's in this, which is clearly a B picture, but it's a fun and it's a good B picture. So that is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Same bat time. We'll go 9 o'clock, and I'm still working on the swap out for the other film. What was that one? The one I'm kicking out. Oh, the lair. Yeah, we're kicking out the lair because that was just a piece of shit. So I'm still working on what I want to replace that one with. But as of tomorrow, uh, we're going to be doing um, the monster that challenged the world. After that is the autopsy of Jane Doe, which is fantastic. It's a really great modern horror film. So if you haven't seen that one yet, check it out. Okay, let's see. I got a couple more chats just came in. Black Geist wants to know if I've checked out Dark Night of the Scarecrow. Not a lot of showing the monster, but I like the suspense. No, I hadn't even heard of that one. Okay. Education has not seen the monster that challenged the world. Oh, great. Here's some intel from Dr. Mask. It says the Internet Archive has it. I never even knew about the Internet Archive until Dr. Mask had mentioned it earlier, I think in another stream. He had mentioned he had seen one of the shows or the films that I had put up on the list, and that's where he watched it. So I went to it today, and one of the films I've been trying to find is The Creature Walks Among Us. And you know what? Maybe that's what we'll put into the 29th. The Creature Walks Among Us, the third and final in the Creature series, because that one's very hard to find. But it is in that Internet Archive. So I'll give that some thought, and I'll let you know tomorrow. But that's what I'm leaning towards right now. I'll get another classic one in. Any gym tunes you want to share? Looking to add to my playlist. Uh Gym tunes. The time if I don't typically use headphones or anything like that when I'm there. Um, but if I'm doing some cardio, rarely. I tend to limit my stuff to just hard driving, AC/DC, Van Halen stuff, um, to get me to power through. But typically I don't listen to music. Chris Juliano just finished watching Autopsy of Jane. It's a great film. Just watched it. Wow. Uh, Internet Archive is a great resource. Yes, it is. 50s, 70s, and 80s horror are the best. 50s sci-fi is the best. Uh, that's my favorite. There's so much A, B, and C films that came out of the 50s that are a lot of fun. All right, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for today. Had a great, I thought this was a great show with great interactions, which I love. And I'll be interested to hear your thoughts tomorrow on the monster that challenged the world. I saw this one as a kid, and there are sequences in it that freaked me out. And I'll be wondering if it has the same effect on you guys. I mean, there's no kids in here, but you know, if you put yourself in that position, seeing it through the eyes of a 10-year-old kid, I'll be interested in your thoughts. So there we have it, my friends. Until then, we will see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye bye.